The highway stretched endlessly across the barren fields, cracked asphalt shimmering under a pale, merciless sky. A sharp wind pushed dust across the road, carrying with it the distant scent of pine. From the forest that stood like dark sentinels to the east, she walked alone, clad in black leather that hugged her body like a second skin, blade strapped against her thighs. Her boots struck the ground with a rhythm that echoed like a war drum in the stillness. But she was not truly alone. Strapped to her back was her child, a baby no older than a year, with round eyes that had yet to learn fear. The child cooed occasionally, sometimes tugging at the leather sling, sometimes resting its cheek against her shoulder. To anyone who might have crossed her path, the sight was surreal, death incarnate, carrying innocence into battle. She had not chosen this road willingly. The world had pushed her into it, stripped away her peace, murdered her trust, and left her with nothing but rage and a child. She would sooner die than surrender. And now, standing at the edge of the horizon, waiting like predators smelling blood, were 6 men. Their bodies gleamed with sweat and scars, bare chests flexing as they shifted the weight of their curved blades. They were strongmen, mercenaries bred for violence, faces twisted into cruel smirks as they blocked her way. The leader among them took a step forward, dragging his sword across the asphalt, sparks flying from the serrated edge. His voice was low, mocking, almost playful. "Hand over the child, and we'll make your death quick." She tilted her head, strands of her raven-black hair falling across her face, her eyes narrowing into slits of pure fire. With deliberate calm, she reached for the hilts of her twin blades. When she drew them free, the air itself seemed to recoil. The steel was curved, wicked, and already painted with fresh blood from the last souls foolish enough to try her. It dripped steadily onto the road, leaving crimson stains where she stood. Her child made a soft sound then, a cry so innocent and small that it seemed to cut through the tension like a bell ringing at a funeral. The sound pierced her chest, fueled the fire in her veins, and ripped away any remaining restraint. She clenched her jaw, twisted her grip on the blades, and whispered in a voice cold enough to freeze marrow, "You shouldn't have made him cry." The men laughed. It was a cruel, thundering sound, as though they couldn't comprehend that this woman, burdened with a baby, thought she could face them all. But their laughter died quickly when she moved. She lunged like a shadow, black leather slicing through the air, blades gleaming like lightning. The first man didn't even have time to scream. Her sword tore through his throat, a spray of red painting the road as he fell gasping. The baby on her back blinked at the sudden violence, wide-eyed but strangely calm, as though it understood this chaos was the only world it had ever known. The others roared, rushing at her in unison, their massive bodies pounding the earth. She spun, ducked, slashed, the steel of her blades clashing against theirs with sparks and shrieks. Blood arced through the air in violent strokes, splattering across her suit, staining the baby's sling. But she did not falter. Every cry from her child was fuel, every tear another reminder that she could not fail. She became something more than human, something primal and unstoppable, a storm of rage and maternal instinct bound in flesh. One man grabbed her arm, veins bulging as he tried to wrestle the sword from her hand, but she twisted, snapping his elbow, with a sickening crack before driving her blade up under his ribs. He fell writhing, his blood pooling across the cracked asphalt. Another came from behind, blade raised high, but she spun, catching his wrist with one sword and slicing through it with the other. His severed hand dropped with a thud, his scream echoing across the empty plains. The leader watched in disbelief as his men who had crushed countless enemies before, fell one by one to this woman who fought with the fury of 1,000 wars. Her face was smeared with blood, her eyes gleaming like coals. The baby on her back began to wail again, louder this time, a piercing cry that seemed almost to direct her rage. She roared with it, slamming both blades into the chest of the next man, ripping them free in a spray of gore. Soon, the road was littered with broken bodies, the strongmen groaning or lying still in crimson pools. She stood among them, chest heaving, blades dripping, leather soaked with the scent of death. The wind carried the silence now, heavy and oppressive. Only the baby's cries remained, softening slowly as she sheathed her swords and touched the child's tiny hand. But her eyes lifted to the horizon again. She knew this was not the end. These 6 were only the beginning. Behind them, somewhere out there in the wilderness of this broken world, others would come. They always came, and for her, there was no turning back, no surrender. She would keep walking this road, blades in hand, her child on her back, until the day no one dared stand in her way.